Hey guys, it's Tim at CNY Farm Supply in Cortland, New York, and this is a little introduction and walk around video to your new Merger. Behind me we've got the RT1150 out here. The controls and operations will be pretty much the same on the RT1000 and 1220. This video is going to include some important hookup, maintenance, and operation information. Alright guys, to get started here, you've got your care package that came with your machine. In here you've got your PTO shaft. This is 540 going on to the Merger and a small 1000 onto the back of the tractor. You've also got your monitor and some spare parts like extra yellow bands for the front, a couple packages of some teeth, and if you purchase the auto grease model, you've got the tube for injecting some more into the back of the unit. And in this little bag right here, you've got a complete parts breakdown by paper, which gives you schematics, part numbers, diagrams, that kind of stuff. And if you purchase the unit from us, we gave you a USB. On here is a troubleshooting guide, parts breakdown, owner's manual, hydraulic instructions, and a bunch of other cool things. Here's a quick view of what's on your USB, including the parts book, which is all interactive. You can click on stuff, take it to certain pages, has the part numbers, quantities, all that good stuff. So here's a look at your new control box. It's very simple and easy to use. You have power on, power off, your LED light in the back, your LED lights shining down on your belts, your auto belt feature, and this joystick will control your belt direction. You have all to the right, all to the left, or split them in either direction. Remember, this has a fail-safe system, so if you didn't have power to this monitor for any reason, if it was in a different tractor, whatever, you can simply just turn your PTO on. Everything's going to turn on and merge to the right, and you can still raise and lower your machine, of course. So if we turn the power on to our box, now it can control the belt directions. Here's all to the right, all to the left. Split them one way or split it the other way. Now we'll set up our auto belt feature. So as you're merging along, put her in float. You get to the end of your row, simply raise it up and your belts will automatically shut off for you. You can make your swing, set it back down, and belts will turn back on. And of course, at the end of the day, if you need to run around, you can put this in the center, and you pick up some scraps, take them over to a windrow, and drop them off. And remember, with higher RPMs, you don't need to slow down for any reason. You can simply just change the belt directions at any time. This part's pretty important, guys. We want to show you how to properly hook the machine to the back of your tractor. You can see the 2-point hitch set up right here. At this time, we're not quick attach adaptable. It can be done, but you got to be very careful about your hookup here with the hoses and stuff on the front of the Merger, okay? It's a lot easier to just take it right off. To start off, you've got your lights, your running lights, blinkers, that kind of stuff, standard plug-in. 2 wires going to the cab. One is for your monitor. The other one on this RT1150 is for the electric wheels under the head, which we'll show you here in a few minutes. For hydraulics, you've got your green hose, which is your main up and down for the entire machine. Your red lines are for your right wing, and your yellow lines are for your left wing. Switching to the other side, you can see on your green main up and down hose, we do have a safety valve shut off here, on and off. And you can see we've tidied up all of our hoses with zip ties, nice and clean, nothing hanging, nothing loose, all custom to this tractor. Most importantly is our safety chain setup here. These chains are not designed to be tight while operating. You will snap a chain or break a bolt off. These safety chains are just in place for weak 2-point hitch arms that may be going up and down on your tractor, or for overnight sag so it doesn't go down too far and ruin your PTO shaft. On your arms, you have an operating height sticker that shows on the RT1150 31 to 34 inches. This is your pin height here. For your convenience, we wrote on here that your chains should be tight at 28 inches. This will help the operator to know when the safety chains are tight. Just by raising it up a few inches, you're in the zone where you should be for operating. On the RT1000, you'll have a chain tight pin height at 21 inches, and your operating will be a little bit lower from 24 to 27. Now that we're ready to go to the field and our pin height is at 31 inches, we've got a little bit of slack in our chains. We're going to do a close-up and show you by raising your 2-point hitch arms. You can see it's going to raise your pickup head and your teeth farther or closer to the ground. So in your operating height, the operator can just simply raise the 2-point hitch arms up a few inches to get it closer or farther to the ground, depending on how short your crop is or how high you're cutting your grass. Lastly, it's important to know that if you're going to be shutting down for the night or unhooking from the machine, that you should have it folded all the way down to the ground to take all the relief off the valves in the back and also take all the stress off your jack when unhooking. Also, for your convenience, right here on the tongue, there's a tube, and inside this tube is a factory owner's manual. This one's still wrapped up. And if you bought the machine from us, we've done a nice job of laminating a quick little sheet that shows you fast-moving parts such as teeth, bearings. It's got your part numbers and quantities that it requires for the machine. You do have a small toolbox mounted on the side by the pump here. From the factory inside the toolbox, you've got a bunch of extra CamTrak bolts, some of the brackets for your teeth, a few more teeth, also some wrenches for removing your yellow bands, and also for some of the belt removal process. And now to start our walk around on the merger, we'll start up front with the gearbox. You do have one right behind your PTO shaft. You can see the sight glass right here. All the gearboxes on this machine are due at 50 hours for the first service, and then it's going to be every 500 hours after that. You do have one gearbox underneath each head. You have a tension on one side and a motor on the other side, and those 3 heads do have a gearbox that needs to be changed also at 50 and then 500. While we're talking about the oil, on your front tongue here, it's a roughly 65 gallons. This is your hydraulic oil. Okay, it's all self-contained in there. Up on the very top, you'll see there's a sight glass, so you can check your level there. And there's also a cap on the very top which has a filter in it. That filter per rock is required to be changed out once a year. You can simply drain the oils at 4,000 hours is the service interval for your oils on there. It can be drained right here. There's like a ball valve inside of this, which makes it very easy for draining. And there's also another screen filter just inside the tongue right here where the pump pulls. Moving on to the pickup head, we've already opened up a couple of these yellow bands so you can take a peek inside. We'll start there. Nice heavy-duty yellow bands. You'll notice that your outside 2 bands are wider than the rest of them on the machine. This helps keep the space between the tooth and the bands tight so no crop gets built up in there. Okay. These yellow bands are held on with a TX40 bolt. Rock makes all their own bolts. It's slightly tapered at the very end, so putting it back in, they always catch the thread very easy. They attach these spacers on top, which do have an automotive bearing built into it. Kind of helps some of that heavy crop get slid through there. You guys probably already know about our metal spring tine teeth. They're nice heavy-duty teeth. They're replaceable with this 10mm bolt on top. You just need a 10mm socket, pull that out, new one back in. Captured nut is on that bracket right there, so there's no extra wrench needed for that, just a socket on top. Okay. From the inside, you can get a good view of our CamTrak bearings right here. CamTrak bearings, on average, you should be getting roughly, depending on the crop, 5,000 to 6,000 acres out of those. Easily to replace just by opening up this little cheater hole right here. It's a 19mm bolt. Pull your bolt out, new bearing on, zip it right back in. 2-piece CamTrak design. You can see it split right here. So when it's time to replace your CamTraks, very easy to do. Same thing. You've got a TX on the outside here to get those off. Your CamTraks, same thing on average. Depending on the crop, you should get 20 to 22,000 acres out of those things. Very strong, last a long time. Each of your bars does have a bearing built in right here. There's 2 per bar, okay? And very little movement on these bearings, but while you've got it opened up, it's important to take a peek at those. 1 grease fitting tucked in right in there. That little grease fitting should be hit once a year with just a few pumps. That is not greasing the bearing that's in here. That is a fully sealed bearing. By hitting that grease fitting, you're basically just lubing the PTO shaft there. On your RT 1150, each wing will have 3 sets of CamTraks. So just like the outside ones, it has a cheater hole to get to these. You just got to remove a couple of bearings there. and then your third one on this wing. Your center head will only have 2, and on your RT1000 you have 2 per head on that machine. Onto our belts here, we have removable belt sections. Just by removing this 10mm nut, you can take this belt section right off to be replaced in case it gets ripped or tore. Also, in between each belt section you have metal bars, and you can see every 5th or 6th one has teeth on it to help get that aggressive product ripped through there, okay? You do have endless belts on the outside. These are 2-inch cogged inside and outside drive belts to really help with traction and no slippage, getting those belts spun. On the back side is our belt tension. This is something to keep an eye on a few times throughout the year. Very easy to change out. As you can see right here, we have a little bar that comes to a point. It's set perfect where it should be right now. Between the silver spacer and the yellow spring is where your tension should be. In order to adjust that, it's very easy. We just got to break this nut loose, and then you can twist this arm right here to adjust that tension and lock it back up. One thing to note, very important, don't leave your machine down when you're making your corners. Pick the machine up as it's designed with the auto belts, because these belts and teeth are very aggressive and will try and take that windrow and suck it back down underneath there. Also, your chopper guy will be much happier because with the auto belt, you'll fan out a really nice tail at the end of your windrow. Underneath each head, we have our big idler wheels. These are nice heavy-duty tires that ride along the ground very smooth. They're on a spring system here, okay? Now, this can be adjusted closer or farther to the ground. There's 2 different options here. On your RT1000, it's going to be a pin adjustment. From the factory, we set it to the center position. By raising or lowering is going to get your head a little bit closer or farther from the ground. On the new RT1150s here, if you remember, there's a wire that goes up into your cab, and these are now on an electric motor system. So when you plug your wire into your power inside the cab, you can use this button right here to raise and lower your wheels. For your convenience, we've set it at 4, which is about 75% up, just to help with teeth longevity and such. So if you're on flatter ground, you can lower those wheels down, okay? It's important to know too that if you have an auto grease system, that most of the fittings are hit. However, there is one grease fitting underneath on these wheels that does need to be checked over and make sure that's greased, that an auto line does not get to. Also, with these big idler wheels, generally you'll set them in one position and never change them. Unless you're doing a lot of custom work going from farm to farm, then you can adjust those. Just be sure not to go too low with them and do any damage to your teeth in the front of your head. Again, once these are set, remember the operator is going to use his 2-point hitch arms to raise and lower the height of the machine and the teeth from the ground there, okay? Underneath here, you also have some belt tension wheels. There's rubber wheels that go all the way across the back here. These are helping keep the belts nice and tight and sealed. You don't get any of that crop coming around the back of the machine and jamming up inside of those belts. Keeps everything nice and tidy. All right, guys, the last few things here on the back of the machine. If you bought the auto grease model, you have your auto luber right here. That's preset right from the factory. The power is going to come on with your control box. So if your control box is on, you have power to this. After 1 hour, the unit will turn on, and every 8 minutes, it'll give a small push. That's a factory setting. No need to have to change that or worry about that. If you want to test it, make sure it's working. If you turn everything on, just push the button on the side here. That'll get that spinning and going. Recommended EP1 grease or an EP2 all-purpose. And remember, you got your gun in your box there that you can inject into that thing. Over here on your right wing, guys, if you bought the machine from us, we stuck on a little hour meter for you. It goes off of vibration, just to give you a rough idea where you're at with hours on the machine. Lastly, a couple small things to keep your machine nice and level. Please keep track of your tire pressures every year. Make sure that those are up. And also, if your machine gets a little bit out of level, which can happen over time, there is a little cheater hole on the back of this box right here that gets to a valve. You can watch our separate video on how to do it. It's a really quick and easy adjustment. It only takes a couple minutes to get your machine re-leveled. To wrap it up here, guys, a couple quick tips for you. Again, when you're first getting into your field, always start with a 2-point hitch up just a little bit higher than you normally would. And if you start missing some crop, then lower it down as needed until you stop losing that crop, okay? And that first cutting, don't be bashful. Get your tractor RPMs right up there, 2,000, 2,200 RPM, PTO at 1,000. That's gonna help get that really heavy crop thrown to the back, get it picked up nice and get it to the back of the belt, nice windrow. Obviously, you're going to slow that down a little bit in your 2nd through 5th cuttings. Your lighter alfalfas and grasses, you're going to slow that down to probably 16 to 1,800 RPMs on the tractor, okay? And don't be bashful to use that auto belt feature that we talked about. When you get to your end of your windrow, raise it up, your belt will shut off, make your swing, set it back down, they'll come on. You'll make a nice little tail. The chopper guy will be super happy. Don't leave your head down because you'll do a little bit of damage to your wheels underneath there, and you could potentially suck that windrow back under because these belts are very aggressive. So use that auto belt feature. Pay attention to your ground speeds. We can make an awesome windrow with this machine. It all has to do with tractor RPMs and your ground speeds. Every crop is going to be different, okay? And if you're new to merging, when you're making your windrows down and back, put your windrows together nice and tight like this. That's going to get you a nice, uniform, smooth windrow. Don't be dumping it on top or pushing it over. You're going to get a lot of chunks and stuff there. So feel free to reach out to us with any questions. I appreciate you watching the video and learning more about it. And thanks again for choosing ROC.